Hi everybody and welcome back. You are joining me today fishing down at Southwick and the time is 5:30 in the evening. I'm down here just after low tide, which was about, it's a couple of hours after low actually. High tide's around 9 tonight. The plan is to fish up to high tide, maybe for about an hour after through to last light. And the target species, well, I've got one summer rig with me for scratching around. Maybe there's some bream down here. And I've also got a rig for the sole and another rig that I'm going to try and see if there's anything a bit bigger about. But we'll take a look at those in a moment. First up, we're going to take a look at the bait. Well, bait for the day, it's all in my larger Tronics Pro bait pack. And what do we have in here? Well, along with my ice pack, we have a packet of sandeels in case there's some rays around. I've got one wrap of frozen lug to try for those sole, and just under a pound of lovely wild dug rag in there. Some beautiful worms to keep us going through the session, and hopefully that'll be plenty of bait to see us through for 5 hours or 6 hours of fishing, probably 5 hours. Anyway, let's see how we get on. We're going to take a look at the rigs coming up in a second. So first rig of the day, this is my summer species rig. It is a 2 up 1 down rig, and my snoods are 0.4 blackout line and they're 16 inches long with size 6 super match hooks. So let's take a closer look. At the top, got a size 1 swivel that is tied to 60-pound Zen rig body, and here we have the snood made of that blackout line and the size 6 super match hook at the top. So that's all held immediately underneath that top swivel with some rig gum stops and beads. Moving down to the middle of the rig, I've also got a size 6 swivel there trapped between 2 beads and a rig gum stop, and the snood is exactly the same as the one at the top. And then the bottom snood is attached just above the clip that holds the weight on. That's also a size 6 swivel, same snood length, same hook size. So that's what we're going to try with the summer species, and then I'm going to bait this up with some bunches of ragworm. So let's take a look at how I'm going to bait up my summer species rig. We'll take a look at the top hook first. Now I've removed some of the ragworm from the cool pack into my little bait bucket here. Just about an hour's worth I've taken out to make it really easy for me to access them. I don't have to keep opening up the cool back and letting the warm air in. And I'm just going to take a few of these smaller worms and just nick them through the head. So there's about an inch of the worm there. Slide that up above the eye of the hook. I'm going to get another worm and do the same thing. It's quite short shank hook, so I need to hold that quite carefully. Normally, I use a bait needle, but when I'm just doing this, it's probably just as easy to use my fingers. That's 2 worms on there, and the next one I'm going to leave sort of sitting on the hook for our third bait. So it's quite a generous bait, you might say, but I'm hoping that that bunch of worms is going to wriggle around underwater and attract a fish over. So I'm going to bait up the other 2 hooks in exactly the same way, and then we'll take a look at the rod and the reel this one's getting whacked out on. So I'll bring you back in a minute. So I've got this 3 hook summer species rig baited up. Now you might have been thinking earlier I said I was using blackout line on here. Now often I'd use fluorocarbon on my summer species rigs, but there's a lot of colour in the water today and fluorocarbon's pretty expensive. It's got a bit tangled up there, let's untangle that. So I've gone for the blackout. At the bottom I've got a 4-ounce pyramid, and I've put this onto my 3-piece competition performance, not my 2-piece one, and that is paired with my Shimano Ultegra 14,000 reel. So we're going to give this a flick out, see if we can pick something up on these juicy worms. So let's get these baits out in the water, see what we can pick up. Hopefully not a bunch of weed. So I'm only going to give this a gentle flick. Not worried about my drop length really, because it's going to be so gentle, it's not going far. There we go. That is about 20 yards out, probably on the sand. I'm hoping it's somewhere near the bottom of the shingle on the sand. I don't know this beach too well, but I'll keep varying my distances, see what I can pick up. as the session goes on. So let's take a look at my second rig choice for today. This is what I'm going to be sending a sand eel out on later, but for now it's having a big juicy rag put on it. I've got a size 1 swivel at the top with a casting snap with a bait clip, and then we have a pulley bead with 2 beads, 1 each side, and underneath the pulley bead I've got a link and a splashdown there. Moving down to a size 1 swivel, that's on about a 20-inch rig body, and then I have a 3-foot snood, that's 42 pound blackout I believe. Let me just check the packet. What was that? Yeah, 42 pound blackout, down to a size 5.0 short shank bait hook. And onto this I'm going to load one absolutely monster king rag. Now these short shank bait hooks are slightly small, they come up slightly small for their size, but they've got a very strong wire gauge. So it's probably more like somewhere between a 3.0 and 4.0 in other hook patterns. But there we go, I'll put that juicy ragworm on, use the bait needle there, and I'm going to chuck that out. A small fish isn't going to get that in its mouth, but I'm hoping that lovely fresh juicy rag might attract maybe a little schoolie. Well, I say little, one that's going to get that nice hook in its mouth. Or something else might pick it up, maybe a hound, because hounds do get caught along this stretch of the coast, and you never know. Anyway, yeah, let's get this whacked out. This is going out on my 2-piece competition performance with my Daiwa 7HT mag on there. So let's get it out. So let's get this juicy bait chucked out to sea. It's going to go a bit further than the other one that I only plopped about 20 yards. So let's get it out there. This beach is a little bit uneven, so the casting's a bit hampered because we've got quite a lot of bumps in the shingle here. But I'm not going for massive distance, just further than the other one. Sort the drop length out as always. Like to be nice and consistent. Turn my mags down a little bit because they were set quite tight on my last session because it was windy. Just pop that almost back at 2 o'clock. Like I say, I'm not going for ultimate distance, I just want to get it out there a little bit. There we go. And the baits are launched. Let's hope something nice and juicy comes and eats my juicy rag. Well guys, I've had a few little tiny plucks on the left-hand rod. Oh, watch them seagulls fly past. That's the one with the summer species rig on it, but just let gentle little pull downs. It might be crab action, which I hope it isn't, or something just having a little feel of the ends of those wiggly worms. But it's been out there about 20 minutes, it's time to reel it in anyway. So let's take a look, see what sort of state the baits are in. Oh, tighten my drag first, that would help, wouldn't it? Yeah, there's no fish on here. It feels very light indeed. But we shall have a look in a second, see what these baits are like. Remember, I put 3 worms on each hook. If it looks like we've been crabbed, I'll send it out a bit further. Oh, would you believe it? Crabs, crabs, crabs. Yeah, so those little plucks I was seeing, definitely crabs. I've got 2 hooks stripped completely clean. Look at that one. Not a single bit of evidence of worm left on it. The only hook with a bit of worm left is the top hook, and there's 1 out of 3 worms left. Let's take a look at that one. There we go. That's all the bait that's left, so I'm going to definitely stick it out further than that next time. See if we can get away from the pesky creatures. So I've rebaited my hooks. Some of these worms are a little bit bigger, so like I've only got 2, say, on that middle hook there. But I'm definitely going to chuck it out a bit further to try and get away from the crabs. So let's get the baits back out in the water. So let's get them chucked out. This time I'm going to go for about 60 yards. So I'll put a bit more effort in my cast, just make sure that drag's tight. Flick the weight back, and we're good to go. Ooh, nearly A seagull nearly flew into my line then. That was close. Anyway, those baits are further out. Let's hope we reel in more than just one little bit of worm left on the next one. Right, so those fresh worms have been out there another 20 minutes. I chucked them further, like I said. There's still little plucks on my rod tip, so I'm expecting some stripped hooks again. But let's take a look, see if we've got anything on the end other than a bare hook. There's a little bit of weed floating in the sea. Nothing too bad though. Only the odd tiny bits. I don't think it's going to be a problem. Oh, she says it feels like I might have a bit on here. It's definitely heavy. Maybe it's a spider crab. Anyway, I'm going to walk down to the edge of the sea, see what we've got, and I'll come back up with it. Yeah, there's little bits of weed on the line. I just feel like it's fighting back. I don't think this is weed. I bet it's a pesky crab. Near the edge now. What do we have? Oh, my favourite. Not one, but two spider crabs. Oh, don't we just love them? One's come off the hook. I'll just chuck that straight back in the sea. Spider crab. Let's take a look at the other one. This one's a bit smaller. Have to get the hook out of him. Ah. Not a good sign. Right, let's catch this crab. Yeah, I'm going to need my forceps on this one. Not looking good. Right, forceps and a rag. Trying to walk off, it isn't going to get very far. Right, let's try and get the hook out of him. It's definitely got a good hold of this hook. Come on, move your legs. This was not going to come off in a hurry, I can tell you that. Can't even see the hook. There we go, getting it. Right, the hook's out. Now I just need to get the line out of its legs. He's trying to pinch me. We don't want that. I don't want him to bite the line. Oh, you beast. He's going to cut my line. Ah. So close to having it free. It's probably a good job I didn't use fluorocarbon snooze and I've gone for the slightly heavier blackout. With these out there in the ocean. Come on. Look, it won't come off. That's it. Oh, blood everywhere, look. Oh, well, these crabs are vicious. They got me. Blood coming out of my fingers. Where's my rag gone? Let's give that a wipe off. This one is definitely not classed as your friendly neighbourhood spider crab. Give that a bit of a clean up. I think I've got some plasters with me somewhere. But anyway, what do we have here? A very spiky spider crab, not very friendly spider crab. I'll go and chuck him back. So, I've chucked the spider crab back and I'm left with 3 holes in my finger from its little spiky bits on its shell. But anyway, it's gone off, it's swum back and it's happy even if my finger's stinging a bit. But what are we going to do about tactics? It's obviously infested out there with spider crabs. So the rod that's got the summer species rig on, that I'm putting loads of my beautiful ragworm on, I'm actually going to give that a rest for a bit because as the tide comes in, the crabs might clear. I'm just going to fish the other rod. I might even try chucking a sand eel out because no doubt my other hook's been stripped clean as well. But we'll take a look at that in a second. Well, as expected, that other hook has been stripped clean. So I'm going to stick a couple of sand eels on there, hoping this is going to fend off those spider crabs for a bit longer. So I'm going to take 2 sand eels and I'm going to chop off the tails, and then I'm going to chop through the heads just roughly where the eye is. It helps let the blood out and the juices out, which is what's going to give us a scent trail. And I'm going to get my hook, which is somewhere down here on the ground, and one of the sand eels I'm just going to nick through the back of the head and out the top of the head there. And I'm going to take the other one and pop it the other way around, so it's like nose to tail, as it were. And we're going to get the bait elastic once I've found the end. In fact, I've got a better one there. Heavy elastic, that's what I wanted, not the fine one. So we're going to give this a whip on with the heavy bait elastic. A very generous amount. These sand eels are still frozen, so they've got a bit of rigidity to them. And we're just going to get this whipped up nicely. Keep putting this elastic on. And we're going to get this scent out 60, 70 yards or so, see if we can pick up something that's not a spider crab. So there we go. The bait is good to go. So let's get these juicy sand eels chucked out. I'm going to loosen off my mags a little bit more, playing on the risky side. Check the drop length, look at a little bit shorter. There. And we're good to go. So I'll drop the weight down. I like to pick my spot carefully. There we go. Let's hope that is not going to feed those spider crabs. Well, in Spider City, those sand eels have been out there for a little while now, so let's get them reeled in and see if we've actually still got any left on the hook, or even if we still have a hook. So let's lift into this and see if there's any weight on the end. I'm kind of hoping not, in a way, because we don't want spider crabs. No, I don't think there's any crabs on here. The question is, have we got any sand eel left? Oh, I'll just tighten my reel seat up a little bit. Obviously didn't do that quite tight enough when I got here. I can feel the grip lead pulling over sand out there. Anyway, let's get this one in. The moment of truth is coming. I've just got the leader knot back. Have we got any bait left? Oh, let's see. I can see some bait, but not a lot of bait. So let's have a look at what the spiders have done to my sand eel. Look at that. Virtually stripped. So they're obviously still out there in force. I'll get a couple more sand eels sent out. That's a sign I should still not be chucking out my ragworm baits on that other rod, because all we're going to do is feed my beautiful dug rag to the crabs. Anyway, let's get a couple more sand eels chucked out. So I've rebaited with some lovely sand eels there. I'm going to get this chucked back out to keep feeding those spider crabs, not so friendly spider crabs. Pests they are, total pests. Right, there we go, let's get them out there. It'll be so nice when they move off. Well, these sand eels have been out a while. I say been out a while, they might have been consumed by now. Let's see if it's worth sticking any worm baits out yet. If I've got sand eel on here, then I'll try another worm. And when I do try a worm, what I'm going to do, rather than load up all my 3 hooks with 2 or 3 worms each, is just try putting worm on the top hook as a little experiment to see if they all get nicked. Anyway, let's see if there's any sand eel bait on here first. Right, we're nearly in. I've got the leader knot coming down the rod. Is there any bait left? Moment of truth. Oh, it looks a bit like last time. Pretty much all stripped. So it's still not worth sticking the worm bait back out. Let's take a look at this. The spider crabs are obviously out there in force. There is not a lot left of that double sand eel I chucked out. Look at that. A little bit more than last time, but it's still looking pretty grim. But it's been a little while since I last recorded anything, and we are still fishing in Spider Crab City. But I've got an idea of something else to try. I want to use up at least these rag before I go home. I've kept quite a few. I've picked through them and picked out some that looked a little bit less healthy. The others might last a few more days still in my fridge. But what I'm going to do is put a bunch of these just on the bottom hook of my summer species rig, and I'm going to put it out about 5 yards. If there's spider crabs in that close, we will find out. But you never know. Sometimes you can pick up fish that close in. But I've got to try something different. What I've been doing has not been working because those pesky crabs have been stealing my bait. So anyway, let's get a little bunch of these on that bottom hook. So here we are, I've got my summer species rig, the bottom hook here. It's got a bit of old rag on it from the little tiny bit the crabs didn't get earlier. Flick that off. And I've got some lovely rag here, so we're going to stick 3 of these just on this one hook. Of course, I could bait all the hooks up, but all that does is risk feeding more of these beauties to those pesky crabs. Anyway, like I said, this is going to go out about 5 yards, probably underarm flick. That's 2 on there. And 1 more for good measure. I'll just slide that up the line. There we go, last one. Nick that through the head. Oops, they're still lively. So there we go. That's our bunch of worms on the bottom hook. So we're going to get this flicked out. Okay, so let's go for this 5 yard underarm flick. I'll just come right down to the water's edge. There we go. You can't get much closer in than that. In fact, the leader knot is still on my reel here. So I'm going to walk back up to the tripod really carefully because I don't want to drag it in any closer. And let's see if those spider crabs are living in that close. Okay, let's take a look at those rag I dropped out about 5 yards. It's not going to take very long to reel this in. Let's take a look at them. I haven't noticed any signs on the rod tip of crab action, so I'm hopeful there might still be some bait on here. We shall see. Oh, I'm out of the water. Oh, yep, we still got the bait. So what that tells me is those crabs aren't in that close. So let's take a look. That looks just like when I chucked it out about 15 minutes or so ago. So we haven't had a fish, but we've still got the bait. So that's progress, because if I haven't got bait on the hook, because the crabs have stolen it all, I'm not going to catch a fish. So I've got more chance of catching a fish in close using this tactic than I have chucking it out even 20 yards where those spider crabs are living. So I'll get the other 2 hooks baited up and chuck this back out. And I've had a few thoughts about how the session's going to go on. I said earlier I was hoping to pick up a sole. I brought a rapper lug with me and I was going to go through my 3rd rig, which was my sole rig. I've changed my mind about that because of this crab action. I just don't think it's worth getting another rig out and using it when my baits are just going to be nicked, unless I've got evidence that that's changing and my sand eels come in whole. So anyway, I'll keep fishing hard, keep trying to catch those fish, get the other 2 hooks on here baited up, and we'll get it stuck out about 5 yards again. Well, it's been hard going. I'm definitely in need of a cup of tea, so I've got the jet boil on. It's coming up to 9 o'clock now. I've been trying really hard to catch something despite these spider crabs being here in force. I've got a couple of cups here because my wife's down here with me today, although she's been a bit camera shy. So yeah, I think I'll probably give it this last cast, maybe another half an hour, so maybe 2 more casts. If things don't change, I'll pack up half an hour early at 9:30. I was going to fish through till 10, but let's face it, it hasn't been the most exciting session, has it? All I can do is say sorry for the blank, but there's still time. I've still got half an hour to make it a non-blank. Anyway, I'll get this cup of tea down me, then I'll have some renewed energy to to carry on for the last half hour. Wish me luck, it's all to play for. Well, let's get these sand eels reeled in for one last check, see if those pesky spider crabs are still nicking a bait. Almost certainly it will be. Oh, which side of the line is that? Maybe I'm that side. I'll just stand at the back here so I don't reel the other one in. Oh, got a loop of line. Let's get that out. So yeah, we don't want to reel the other line in. Just about sunset. Wonder if the pink sky all around is coming out in the video. It looks really pretty. You can't beat being out on the beach, even if it is only spider crabs out there in front of you. All right, now which way round are these lines? There we go, that way. Well, if we need evidence that the spider crabs are out there in force, look at that. Absolutely no bait left on there whatsoever. So I've got through a packet of sand eels feeding the crabs. So I'm going to get this rod packed up. We've still got a chance for bite on the other one, which I've actually stuck out a little bit further now, just as a last resort because I haven't caught anything close in. But I got my baits back. I've now got about 4 rag on each hook to try and keep those spider crabs at bay for as long as possible. But anyway, we shall find out next time I see you whether I've got anything on that one. Well, the fishing might not have been up to much, but look at that sunset. Absolutely glorious. That's what you do, isn't it? When you don't catch anything, you put a nice sunset picture in. Anyway, I've still got one more rod to reel in. There's still a chance we might have actually caught a fish. I'm not holding out any hope though. I'll leave you to enjoy that sunset. What can I say? The fishing's been hard, but I've given it a go. I've done my best. There's only so much you can do when there's an army of spider crabs out there. Anyway, I'm going to be flying off to Norway very soon, where hopefully we'll get some much better fish on camera. It can't be worse than today, can it? Let's face it. Anyway, I hope you've liked the video, even though it's been a big, fat blank. See you soon, guys.